How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. We have the VP pick. Markets kind of recovering to a degree today. We got a lot to talk about. Gracious. Dow's up 472 right now. NASDAQ up 278. S&P up 89 as things recover today. We'll get to the markets later. We've got Vice President Kamala Harris's pick. Now, the phone number here, if you want to be on the program, 877-973-7425. I am very happy to have you on the program, but you're going to have to wait a little while because we got a lot to get through. There's a lot out there about Tim Walz. Here's what you need to understand. A while back, Kamala Harris went to a technology conference, and she said this.
You know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
We got to stay woke. Well, she picked about the wokest pick she could find. And remarkably, the message Kamala Harris has chosen to send is Jews are not allowed. This is not Al Gore and Joe Lieberman's Democratic Party anymore. This is the party of Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Jamal Bowman of anti-Semites. Now, this is so important. I've been telling you this, and this makes it even more clear to me that I was right. I have said now repeatedly, I'm going to repeat myself again, it's that important. 2 weeks ago, Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States to address Congress and met privately with Kamala Harris. He went back to Israel and promptly began an assassination campaign targeting people in Gaza, in Beirut, in Damascus, and Tehran, wiping out their enemies ruthlessly, efficiently, and quickly. And I've been wondering, what in God's name did Kamala Harris convey to him that signaled, I better get this over with in case she wins? Well, now we know. She is decidedly anti-Semitic in her pick for her vice president. She rejected Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, who served as a volunteer in the Israeli Defense Force, and scrubbed that from the internet and apologized for being pro-Israel. Literally, they did a struggle session with Josh Shapiro, making him apologize for being pro-Israel, and they still rejected him. That's how anti-Semitic the Democratic Party has become. He had 18 electoral college votes in Pennsylvania, a must-win swing state for the Democrats. Donald Trump still has many more paths to victory, and Harris rejected him because the anti-Semites in the Democratic Party said they would oppose her and riot in Chicago. So she gave the anti-Semites a heckler's veto with Tim Walz, who is super, super progressive. If you don't believe me on the anti-Semitism, well, here's Van Jones on CNN.
Do you think it was a little risky, though, Van, that she didn't go with Shapiro to kind of lock down Pennsylvania? I mean, yes, David Challenger was saying earlier, just because you pick him as your running mate doesn't mean you automatically win Pennsylvania. I think it would have helped just a little bit.
Hey, listen, the conservatives, the right wing, the Republicans, they were chewing their fingernails down to the knuckle because they were afraid of a Josh Shapiro. They were afraid of a Mark Kelly. They're not as afraid of this new governor because they think they can define him. So here's the challenge you've got in this party. And people don't want to talk about it. We got to talk about it. On the one hand, you have a lot of young people who are concerned about Gaza. You have a lot of Muslims and Arabs and others. They have not felt seen by the Biden administration. You start hearing that genocide joke. That was building. And so those folks needed to have a candidate that they could feel comfortable with. This helps them in that regard. But you also have anti-Semitism that has gotten marbled into this party. You can be for the Palestinians without being an anti-Jewish bigot, but there are some anti-Jewish bigots out there. And there's some disquiet now, and there has to be. How much of what just happened is caving into some of these darker parts in the party? So that's going to have to get worked out. It's going to have to get talked through.
Yeah, it absolutely is, because Josh Shapiro was a strategic pick for Kamala Harris, and she rejected him when the anti-Semites of the Democratic Party made it very, very clear that they would protest. And they're all very happy. The Jamal Bowmans, the Ilhan Omars, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes, the far left. What you have to understand is that Kamala Harris scuttled her presidential campaign in 2020 because she was so concerned about what the online left thought. The New York Times, in its postmortem piece on why Kamala Harris lost, said essentially she was too worried about what the progressive fights on social media were and responding to the day-to-day Twitter wars of progressives. She's doing the same thing with Walz, who is super far left. Not only is Tim Walz far left, Tim Walz is a veteran of the United States Army. He re-upped after 9/11, and the moment they ordered him to Iraq, he retired to run for office. J.D. Vance decided to serve and go to Iraq. Tim Walz bailed on his command when they sent him to Iraq. He refused to go to Iraq. He retired, put in his retirement after they told him he was going to Iraq, and got out before having to go. J.D. Vance went. Walz bailed on his platoon and then decided to run for office. That's the sort of man he is. Like Kamala Harris, a career political opportunist wanting to climb the ladder. He got back in as a show so he could say, I re-enlisted after 9/11. When they decided to send me to Iraq, he jumped back out and ran for office and said, I'm a veteran. Yeah, a veteran who refused to go with his platoon to active duty combat so he could run. He's in favor of sanctuary cities.
Should Minnesota be a sanctuary state?
If the definition of that is that the federal government enforces immigration law and local law enforcement enforces local law, then yes.
Should cities be allowed to be sanctuary cities?
Yes, local control.
Local control, yes, and states as well, sanctuary cities. He also believes that socialism, where the government forces you to give up your money for others, is just neighborliness.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
One person's socialism that uses government force against you is another person's neighborliness. He also supported giving illegal aliens driver's licenses in Minnesota, signed a law, made a big deal about it.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
Not only that, but he also said that he would invest in a ladder company if Donald Trump built a wall to try to bring illegal aliens into the country.
And I think seeing a plan that's out there, talking about it with folks, knowing that he's not going to do anything. He talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory. That's not how you stop this.
I'll invest in a 30-foot high ladder factory if he builds a 25-foot high wall, just so I can keep the illegals coming here. He's also been really bad on China. He had taught as a school teacher in China when he was in Congress in 2019. He said, despite the Chinese running concentration camps, it was a complicated situation and we needed to understand China and not have an adversarial relationship with him.
We've been focusing on, and I lived in China, and as I said, I've been there about 30 times, but if someone tells you they're an expert on China, they're probably not telling you the truth, because it's a complex country. But it's critically important for us. I don't fall into the category that China necessarily needs to be an adversarial relationship. I totally disagree.
Totally disagree. It doesn't need to be an adversarial relationship. This man is a hyper-progressive fan of China, despite their running concentration camps, despite their spying on the United States. But it goes beyond that. He's also signed into law a safe haven statute that if your state doesn't allow a child before puberty to transition, you can take the child to Minnesota and hide there, and Minnesota will not only protect the child, but will also pay for the child's gender transition.
And what we want to say is we're there to protect children. We're there to have you understand that in Minnesota you're going to be protected. And I just want to be clear. I will never understand what goes into the thinking of these folks to bully these children. It is not impacting them in one bit and making it a living hell for children, for families, for adults, for folks who are just trying to bring themselves in. So in Minnesota, we're making it very clear we're not going to cooperate with these folks. We're not going to extradite people. We're going to say that this is a place where you can come to make these decisions. The community, the trans community is as terrified as they've ever been. We've seen attacks across the nation, even here in Minnesota.
So these children, no one, why these children don't harm these. These children are going to be irreversibly harmed by zealots, and Tim Walz wanted to make it possible. He also signed into legislation a law declaring abortion a fundamental right in Minnesota. Tim Walz also taxes senior citizens' Social Security benefits, one of only 10 states that does, and he upped the tax increase on senior citizens. During COVID, no less, he jacked up taxes. Not just on senior citizens, on everybody, but also on senior citizens. Perhaps most damning of all is Tim Walz's response to the summer riot season in 2020. After George Floyd, Tim Walz went into the street and with a piece of chalk on June 3rd, 2020, wrote, "Justice now." And then the riots began, and small businesses across Minneapolis began burning to the ground. And Tim Walz refused to call in the National Guard to help stop the rioting. This is a montage put together at the time of Tim Walz's failures in the summer riot season.
We are seeing such damage and destruction throughout Minneapolis and St. Paul. Things have gotten so out of control, it is hard to understand.
It's been a chaotic, at times violent day in South Minneapolis, turning into a situation unlike anything we've ever seen in our community.
From Chopper 5 up above, we can see the plume of smoke drifting towards downtown Minneapolis.
Started vandalizing the building, shattering a window, spray painting squad cars.
We are asking the governor, we're asking Mayor Fry, what is the plan here?
We saw people throwing rocks at police cars, at the precinct building.
This has gotten so out of control, it is definitely not a safe situation for anyone.
The tragedy would be if one of these dumpster fires spreads to one of those big apartment buildings or some of these homes, and then you can't get a fire truck down the street.
Please, Governor Walz, Mayor Fry, explain to us what the plan is.
We've seen protesters attacking police, defacing buildings, and looting from businesses.
The place is completely trashed. A lot of stuff has been hauled out of there. Sadly, no police presence in that area whatsoever.
I'm just so baffled. If this is being in charge, this is not a good look.
There is oil, there are chemicals, there are paints, all sorts of things that are combustible and that could really cause a huge explosion.
People are scared, and people are angry, and people want to hear from their governor.
If the governor and the mayor are not going to take care of this problem, people will. People will uprise over this.
This is a fail. I mean, this is an abject failure. I just don't think there's any other way to put it. You know, like I said earlier, the house is on fire. Will you please tell us if the fire department's on its way? I mean, is anything going to happen here? We're just going to let this burn.
That's Tim Walz's record. As governor of Minnesota, he let Minneapolis burn. He refused to call in the National Guard to help local law enforcement. They were begging him to. He let it burn. And then Kamala Harris raised bail money to get those rioters out of jail. It's the perfect progressive ticket. She picked him because of anti-Semitism on the left. She picked him because he's on the side of the rioters and he's on the side of the illegal aliens. And he didn't just do that. He went on television with a reporter and lied about COVID lockdowns, insisting kids only missed 10 days of in-school learning, which wasn't true. In Minnesota, they were out of class for a year because of his mandates.
Would you have done the schools any differently? Because I think that's where a lot of parents are upset about what happened with the schools.
Well,
do you think you could have made any other choice?
Well, I think, just to be clear, over 80% of our students missed less than 10 days of in-class learning. The vast majority of students were in. It depended, again, on population density. Many of these decisions were being made by local folks to be able to do what was necessary to keep them there. I think, again, in hindsight, if we could have known that we would get vaccinations out as quickly as possible, we prioritized teachers and the staff in schools to get there. We're doing it differently now.
We're doing it differently now. That 10 days of in class, he's counting the Zoom lectures kids went through from home as in class time. Tim Walz not only shut kids out of school for a year and imposed mask mandates, Tim Walz was allowing bars to open but forcing churches to close. That's right. In Minnesota, bars could be open during COVID. Churches were forced by the state to be closed. That's Tim Walz's Minnesota. He burned it to the ground, shut Christians out of churches, kept kids out of school, and now he's the pick because he's not Jewish. This is not Al Gore and Joe Lieberman's Democratic Party. This is the Democratic Party of the far left. AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested, so buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson, oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. So here's the thing. A lot of you are emailing saying, please, can we get a copy of that monologue with all the evidence? Most of that, by the way, is local media coverage of Tim Walz. It's not Fox News. It's the local press in Minnesota. I am going to push that monologue out as a video so you can get it on YouTube. You'll get it in Substack. If you text DATA to 33777, you'll get it in your inbox this afternoon. You can share it with your friends so everybody has it. This guy is not a moderate. They're calling him a folksy moderate. He's not in any way, shape, or form a moderate. He is a very, very, very progressive guy. J.D. Vance has been asked his thoughts already just a short time ago in, I think, Pennsylvania. This is J.D. Vance.
This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually. They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive for what it says about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies.
That's some hard-hitting stuff, and he's right. Tim Walz allowed Minneapolis to burn down, and then Kamala Harris bailed the rioters out of jail. That is the Democratic ticket now in a nutshell. And the fact that Tim Walz kind of models himself as the epitome of what an MSNBC anchor thinks a moderate would be is part of the problem here. Kamala Harris in 2020, I can't emphasize this enough. She was too far left in 2020. She's doing it all over again. Trump can exploit this. I've got the ads they've just launched. When we come back, we got more we got to talk about. But first, before I go anywhere else, I need to tell you guys about Swiss America because they want to protect you in this economic turmoil. My goodness gracious, with the markets the way they are. Swiss America is the trusted leader in precious metals in this country for quite a long time, and 40 years no less. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, and they've got their report, The Secret War on Cash. You can get it. It takes less than 15 minutes to read, very detailed on what the government is doing to track you around the internet and elsewhere. It includes digital forms of currency. All you got to do is text my name or call 800-289-2646 and mention Eric, or just text Eric to 800-289-2646. The Secret War on Cash report is completely free. It's very eye-opening. 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com/Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Real easy. Just text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Greetings and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. While Jonathan Chait of New York Magazine, a progressive, writes this in New York Magazine. With what the selection does is forfeit her best opportunity to send a message that she is a moderate. She needs to take every possible opportunity between now and November to make up for that. I can't emphasize this enough to you. When her campaign collapsed in 2020, the diagnosis of the New York Times, based on the feedback of the people on Kamala Harris's staff, is that she was so obsessed with showing the left she was one of them that she moved too far left and paid attention to the progressive fights on Twitter instead of what real Americans and real Democrats were thinking. The pick of Tim Walz shows she's falling back into familiar patterns of listening to the far left. The Trump campaign has released 2 ads. One, I hope it's 30 seconds, so it's timed for TV. The other one is for social media. I want to play both of them for you. Now, here's the thing, though, as I'm playing these, they are online, but are they on TV? I'm seeing a whole lot of Kamala Harris ads in Georgia, and my network of friends in swing states are telling me the same thing is happening to them in the Pittsburgh market, the Philly market, the Harrisburg market, the Waukesha market, the Lansing market. You've got a lot of ads that are being run by the Harris campaign. She's outspending Donald Trump right now about 10-1. She's outraised him now. They've got more money. His money's still going to pay lawyers, among other things. The Trump campaign and the super PACs out there for Trump, they've got to step up the funding, and they've got to step up the attacks on Harris and Walz together. So here's one of the first ads out.
Kamala Harris just doubled down on her radical vision for America by tapping another left-wing extremist as her VP nominee. Tim Walz will be a rubber stamp for Kamala's dangerously liberal agenda, like allowing convicted felons to walk free, embracing anti-American Green New Deal policies, and giving up control of our southern border to criminal aliens and violent drug cartels. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they're failed, weak, and dangerously liberal.
Failed, weak, dangerously liberal. Might I suggest fiery but mostly peaceful? If you know, you know. Here's the other one. This is purely a web play. It's 44 seconds, which means it can't be aired on TV or radio. You gotta air it as 30 seconds or 60 seconds. This is the other one.
What could be weirder than signing a bill into law that requires schools to stock tampons in boys' bathrooms? Or weirder than signing legislation allowing minors to receive sex change operations? Try electing the man who signed those bills Vice President of the United States. Enter Chief Weirdo Tim Walz. As governor of Minnesota, Walz supported legislation that endangers minors, hurts women, and puts radical ideology ahead of common sense. Now Kamala wants Walz to enforce those laws on a national scale. Tim Walz, too weird, too radical.
Yep. That's from the Make America Great Super PAC. Listen, we have a we need to have a heart-to-heart here, and I hope the Trump team is listening. In all seriousness, he's got to win now. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz would be the most progressive, far left group of people, even more so than Barack Obama. Walz is a far left progressive who during COVID blew through a massive budget surplus and raised taxes on senior citizens. Tim Walz left the military despite getting a promotion above master sergeant. He left as a master sergeant because he refused to finish his training because they wanted to send him to Iraq. So he bailed and ran for office. He walked away from his fellow soldiers to pursue a political career instead of going to Iraq. J.D. Vance did go to Iraq. Tim Walz allowed Minneapolis to be burned to the ground without sending reinforcements to local police who needed it. Did you know that under Tim Walz in Minnesota, not making this up, you can look it up yourself, Under Tim Walz in Minnesota, murders have gone up 58%. Assaults on police officers have gone up 62%. Robberies have gone up. Home break-ins have gone up. Car thefts have gone up. All with Tim Walz as governor of Minnesota. He's taken a defund the police attitude. We got to stop him. But it's not you or me who can stop them. It's Donald Trump. And so my message to the Trump campaign is very simple. Please, for the love of all that is decent and holy, someone from the Trump campaign, please listen to me here. Since Saturday, Republicans have been fighting each other because Donald Trump decided to get on stage in Atlanta, Georgia, and spent more time attacking Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, who has endorsed him, than Kamala Harris. Please keep the crazies away from Donald Trump. I am willing to bet that Bill White whispered in Trump's ear before he got on stage. For those of you who don't know, Bill White hates Brian Kemp and his wife because he blames them for not going along with a plan to create a new city in Georgia the guy wanted. So he left and moved to West Palm and joined Mar-a-Lago, and he's a friend of Trump's. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Donald Trump talked on stage about Brian and Marty Kemp the same way Bill White talks about them on social media. Keep the crazy away from Donald Trump. Keep him away from Laura Loomer. Keep him away from Mike Flynn. Keep him away from Steve Bannon. Keep him away from Bill White. Focus him on the game. The Republicans can now be reunited in stopping Kamala Harris and Bill White, or stopping Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. We've got to stop them. But that is, in fact, going to take discipline from Donald Trump to stay on message. Walz is a deeply progressive governor. He signed legislation to punish religious schools in Minnesota if they have religious standards for students on campus. He signed legislation to make abortion a fundamental right. He signed legislation that would confiscate children from their parents if their parents do not want to transition the children. He signed legislation to shut churches down and keep bars open during COVID. He's deeply progressive. And he was picked because he's not Jewish. The anti-Semites got a heckler's veto of Kamala Harris's nominee for vice president. He is on the far left. The media is going to tell you he's folksy. He's charming and folksy. He's progressive, an all shucks progressive. Donald Trump, please focus. Please focus. And it's worth saying to you guys who are Trump supporters as well, because I since I criticized him over his statements on Saturday, I've gotten lit up by a lot of Trump supporters who will dogmatically defend everything he does. Well, why come after me for telling you the truth? Focus on Kamala Harris. The fact that so many Trump supporters would rather attack people who are willing to vote for him, unlike many of the people attacking me, I've given Donald Trump a lot of money. I'd like to stop Kamala Harris. And a lot of the people who are attacking me from the Trump side of things would be better off just focusing on the left. You can ignore people on the right criticizing Donald Trump who are going to vote for him, who probably gave him more money than you'll ever give him. Focus on the Democrats. Focus on the Democrats. My job is not to be a cheerleader for a candidate. My job is to tell you what I think. Hopefully to keep you informed and entertained along the way. But my job is to lay out the analysis of what's going on. And it's deeply divisive when the former president stands on a stage in a swing state and attacks the very popular governor of that state and reopens old wounds that he did not have to open. It was a choice on Trump's part to do that. Focus on Harris and Walz. We have to stop them. They're very, very progressive. Tim Walz let his state burn, and Kamala Harris bailed out of jail the people who burned the state. That's how progressive they are. So Donald Trump, we need you to focus. We need you to not just focus. We need you to sound centrist on stage and stop scaring people and reminding people they don't like you. We need your campaign to step up the ad campaign against Harris and Walz. We have their ticket. We know how far left it is now. They're getting a bounce. For the first time this year, Donald Trump is now behind in the Real Clear Politics polling average. He's been ahead the whole time. He's now behind. Trump can calm people's anger about his attacks on Kemp by just opening relentless rhetorical fire on the Democrats now and pointing out how unsecure the border would be, how unsecure America could be. Harris and Walz want an open and unsecure border. They want not just an open and unsecure border. They also want people out of prison, and they want police defunded. They want to make American lives less safe. They've given a heckler's veto to anti-Semites. The Hamas wing of the Democratic Party now rules the Democratic Party, a terrorist group. They haven't just captured the Washington Post, they've captured the Democratic Party, so much so that the vice president of the United States had to abandon the strategic play of Josh Shapiro, who could have gotten her 18 electoral college votes in Pennsylvania, in favor of someone the anti-Semites wouldn't oppose. That's how bad it is. So for the love of all that is decent and holy, Donald Trump, please listen to me. Please stop listening to the crazies of social media. Please stop hanging out on chats with social media influencers. Please focus on Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Focus on the future, not the past. Focus on why your policies would be better than their policies and how you'll not just make America great again, you'll make affordable groceries again, you'll make affordable gas again, and you'll close the border. If you just focus on that message, you will win against people this progressive. The Harris campaign gave a heckler's veto to the anti-Semites. They have overplayed their hand, and they're ripe for beating. It is going to be a choice on Donald Trump's part to lose at this point. He might make that choice. If he keeps showing the lack of discipline he showed over the last couple of weeks, he may lose. God help us if he does. Look at the alternative now. You can see it clearly, except you can't through the smoke of Minneapolis. That's how bad it is. So the Trump campaign needs to fire on all cylinders, and they need to work real hard right now to define the Harris-Walz ticket and what it actually means for America. Do they have the money to do it? Will the super PAC step up and do it? There are plenty of people out there who now see this ticket and realize just how progressively radical it would be. So maybe you got some billionaires out there who would stand up with their super PACs and run the ads and define them if Trump can't do it. His money, I don't know where all it's going, to lawyers and elsewhere, but right now in my state of Georgia, and I know in the states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, the Harris campaign is outspending the Trump campaign, defining herself positively and defining the Trump team negatively. The Republicans need to step up, start spending, and now we have the ticket. It's real easy to define it. As J.D. Vance said this morning, Tim Walz let Minnesota burn to the ground, and then Kamala Harris bailed the rioters out of jail. That's a pretty easy message to understand. Now, speaking of all the burning and fires out there, you know the Eden Pure thunderstorm, it can't rebuild your business, but it can take the smoke odor away. Listen, the Eden Pure thunderstorm really does work. I have been in buildings. I've been in hotels. In fact, one of my favorite hotels has a fireplace in the bedroom, and they run the Eden Pure thunderstorm if someone's used the fireplace, and it wipes out those odors. It really does work. It works on dirty diapers. It works on fireplaces. It works on people who smoke cigarettes, cigars, whatever. It works on pet odors. It works on cooking odors. And right now, you buy one, you get one free. The Eric Bogo offer at EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code Eric Bogo, ERICKBOGO. If you buy one, you get one free. If you buy 5, you get 5 free. You buy 10, you get 10 free. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric Bogo, ERICKBOGO, ERICKBOGO, Eric Bogo. You get an air purifier that generates ozone that gets into the nooks and crannies, through the furniture, through the cracks in the wall, wipes out all the odors. Wherever they're hiding, the odors cannot stand up to the Eden Pure thunderstorm. It just works. EdenPureDeals.com, discount code Eric Bogo. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Wherever you are nationwide, they might be able to help your business grow. If you're buying a building or building a building or buying a franchise or need a heavy equipment loan, they move fast. They make their own decisions. They might help your business. FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com. Charlie, you're going to be up first today. Welcome to the show, Charlie. How are you?
I am good, Eric. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I want to kind of comment about Trump and what's going on. And I am not, a suburban housewife. And I'm a guy who will be voting for Trump for the third time this November. But I am really worried. And if he doesn't change and change quickly, he's going to lose. I was so angry Saturday night. I turned on the coverage of his speech, and he's attacking Brian Kemp. And my wife and I turned it off after about 10 minutes. And I don't know what it will take to get through to him that he can't keep doing this. He's got to talk about the border, stopping fentanyl, helping the economy, supporting the police. These are all things that people care about, and I don't understand, and I am really, really worried. So for all of these Trumpers out there that are saying this is people, it's people wouldn't vote for him anyway who are criticizing him, I'm criticizing him, and I'm going to vote for the guy, but he's going to lose if he doesn't stop.
Look, I'm glad you said that, Charlie. Somebody was coming after me on social media last night and said, well, you're just never Trump. I was like, how much money have you given him? Because I'm pretty sure I'm willing to bet I've given him way more money than you who's attacking me. And of course, they wouldn't acknowledge that they'd given me money. I actually, probably crummy of me, I got on the disclosures, and of course their name doesn't appear, and mine does. And these people are accusing me of wanting him to lose. I don't want Harris to win. I may not like him, but I prefer his policies. And the fact that his supporters are dogmatically insistent anyone who criticizes him must be on the side of Kamala Harris. No, we're hoping that he listens to the criticisms and redirects his fire away from popular Republicans towards Kamala Harris. This isn't hard. I have rarely in my life encountered a political movement that believes subtraction instead of addition is the way to win. But so many of Trump's supporters kind of reminds me of that bubble in 2020 where it was looking more and more like things weren't going well for him. And anyone who said anything critical was immediately attacked by Trump supporters as, well, you were never Trump. Again, like in 2024, pretty sure I gave him more money than the people who were attacking me. I'd prefer his policies. Yeah, listen, I think I'm pretty straightforward. Not my cup of tea. But given the alternative, I see which way the wind blows. But my gosh, the intolerance of criticism, I didn't sign up for a cult. And the problem is this is on him. It's not on me. He's got to have my vote. He's got my vote and my money right now. But he's losing votes by focusing on attacking Republicans instead of focusing on attacking Harris and Walz. Lindsey Graham allegedly is coming to Georgia today to try to smooth things over with Brian Kemp. Good luck with that. Now, please just focus on the left. Focus on their bad policies. Focus on their open borders. And by the way, when we come back, we got to focus on Google. It just lost an antitrust lawsuit, and it's admitted to Congress it's censoring people's searches for information about Donald Trump. Yes, Google to Congress admitting you search for Donald Trump, you might get redirected to searches about Kamala Harris instead. I've got the details when we come back.